they want the other side being the Michael Jackson estate, to conclude that it's hurting our business and we're better off paying a lot of money to end this thing, just like was done with the Chandler settlement in 1993. I've always said that settlement was the worst decision ever made for Michael Jackson. It opened Pandora's box. It made many other greedy, manipulative, dishonest people say to themselves, why work when you can sue Michael Jackson and get millions of dollars in your pocket, at a young age? It was just the worst decision ever made in his career. I think it led to Francia. It led to lawsuits by security guards at Havenhurst. It led to lawsuits by security guards at Neverland. And ultimately it led to that horrific criminal case where I defended him as his lead counsel. So I find all of this very disturbing, but I think I know what the lawyers are trying to accomplish. They want to just sow embarrassment. They want to hurt the business if they can and make Branca and Weitzman decide we got to pay them and get rid of this thing.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you. Let's go out to 507 is the area code. Please say your name and where you're calling from. You're on with Tom Mesereau.
Hello, Jordan King, and hello, Mr. Mesereau. This is Nick Eichers here. I got a question. But first off, I just want to say, you get this a lot, Tom. I know you do, but you're such an inspiration to the whole MJ community all over the world. You're such an amazing person for everything you do, and, you're just a great human being, so thank you.
Well, thank you very much. You're very kind.
My question is, and this is going to be a complicated question, because I heard a story about this a while back, and it really didn't get much coverage. But I'm wondering, about a week after the trial, Michael Jackson was very ill. He was very sick. He wasn't drinking any water. He wasn't eating any food. And apparently he was going to die. He was afraid that they, and he kept calling them they, were out to get him and they were going to poison him. So he wasn't drinking anything. He wasn't eating anything. He was locked in his Neverland. And a friend, I guess, took him to the hospital and said that if it would have been a couple hours, then MJ would have been gone. So do you know anything about that, sir?
I did hear that he was taken to the hospital and that he was dehydrated. And that didn't surprise me. You saw him deteriorate during the trial, physically, emotionally. I never saw him look as bad as he did on verdict day. He looked like he just hadn't slept in weeks. He looked terrified. His cheeks were sunken in. He had trouble, even smiling. I mean, he just looked awful. So I saw the deterioration. There never was deterioration mentally because I worked with him throughout the trial. I would talk with him at 3 and 4 in the morning. I would talk with him throughout the trial, during the breaks, during lunch. And he was always very lucid, very, very logical, very rational. He clearly was mentally very fit throughout the trial, but his physical appearance just got worse. And I was told that he was in a state of dehydration. Now, I was with him at Neverland on verdict day. I skipped the international press conference so Susan, you and I could be with him at Neverland because we felt he really needed our presence and support. And, I saw him with his children, hugging them, and everybody crying, everybody just grateful that the jury saw the truth. And he actually, at the end of the day, looked a lot better than he did earlier. But he still had to lie down. He was weak and thin. And an answer to your question is that he did go to the hospital. I'm well aware of that. I know he was dehydrated. I never was told he was near death. It's possible, but I wasn't told that.
And that was the day that court was late, and the judge was going to revoke his. No!
I'm talking about verdict day after he was found not guilty. That's what I'm talking about. And after, it was the question about was this trip to the hospital during the trial or after it that you're talking about?
I believe it's the call. Yeah, we lost the caller, so.
There was a trip to the hospital during the trial, and, he had a back problem, etc., and the judge got very upset. But there was, I think her question was, after the trial was over, did he go to the hospital and was he potentially near death? And I know he was dehydrated. I know he needed, medical attention. I never was told he was near death, but it's possible. He just looked so bad.
Well, Tom, I want to thank you for joining us here on Michael Jackson's birthday bash. It was definitely a pleasure to have you on. And thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jordan, and thank you to everyone for supporting this wonderful artist and wonderful person. We're all blessed to have, we're blessed to have known him. Some of us were closer to him than others, but we all know him in our own way, and we're all blessed that he graced the planet, and he made the world a much better place. And I'm glad people are keeping his reputation alive and fighting fiercely against those who would like to destroy his reputation, because I've often said he's being attacked in death just the way he was attacked in life. There are just so many people trying to profit off his demise, even years after he passed away, and it's wrong, and I'm glad the fan community is not letting it happen.
Absolutely, and thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me, Jordan. It's always a pleasure. Have a good weekend.
Oh, okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we also have, thank you also to Tom Mesereau. Thank you. Now we're going to bring in our other guests for the evening. From the ID Network, we do have Aphrodite Jones, I believe. Let me let her in. Aphrodite, good evening. Jordan
Hi,
from
Jordan.
New York.
How are you doing?
Okay, you're following the party. I am going to bring a blogger or a YouTube defender, I guess you could call him. Matt will join us as a co-host with me. Good evening, Matt.
Good evening, Jordan. How's it going?
Okay, but I want to go to Aphrodite first. It's been 5 years, his death, and now it's his birthday. Well, what's your take?
Well, I think that first and foremost, the fans that I see on Facebook, Twitter, you name it, are out in full force wishing Michael a happy birthday, even in death, because let's face it, Michael Jackson will live forever, not only in our hearts, but in the souls of everyone who listens to his music. And there's never a day that I go by that I don't hear a Michael Jackson song that makes me smile. And that is something that all of us share around the planet, regardless of what we feel or think about him personally. So I just believe that Michael will always be celebrated. And it's something that is a phenomenon to him and to him alone. If you really think about it, who else has their birthday remembered and celebrated by fans across the planet in every country around the world besides Michael Jackson, even after, 5 years after his death? And I believe it'll continue for as long as any of his fans are still alive. And, it's amazing the gift that he gave to all of us in his music and his dance and his performance. And I think also that everybody who lives out there applauding Michael and rooting for Michael, as Tom Mesereau just said, also are very active in making sure that people realize that they're not going to tolerate others tarnishing or trying to destroy his name or his legacy. And there are those haters, if you will, that are still out there who just refuse to let go of negativity that was following and plaguing Michael in PR and in the media for a lot of his life. And I think that energizes the fans. I really do. I think it, aside from the fact that we celebrate what he gave us, all that he did for, this planet as an artist and really basically lived to be an artist, he also, he was a victim of a very horrible, malicious cycle of, whatever you want to call it, tabloid trash, prosecution and media vengeance, if you will. And his fans are just not going to tolerate it. And they're out there to say, hey, we love Michael, and, we want the truth to be known. And they fight for him. And I think that is, just it's a testament to the power of this particular individual. I mean, he has superstar qualities even after death. Who can we say that has that? I mean, to the extent that Michael Jackson does. I don't think there's anybody. I really don't.
And a lot of people were interested in the book that you came out with in 2007. I did a little survey on the event page. What do you think of people with the books? And one of the answers positively was writers that wrote a Michael Jackson book before he died. So that got the most feed, and you did that, in fact. So can you please tell us about the book?
Well, you know, I did. I wrote that book right after the trial. The trial ended in 2005, and I started writing that book, researching it the end of 2005 into 2006. It took me a year, and I brought it out in 2007. So that book really started, almost 10 years ago. And I did it because I felt that I had to set the record straight. There were some people back then who were accusing me of trying to just profit and being, not being genuine about what it was I was saying about Michael Jackson being a victim of the media. However, I think anyone who has read that book, rather than just taking a look at the cover and making decisions without reading the book, realizes that, no, in fact, I did all the work, and it's very genuine, and it's completely documented. And I did it because I felt it was the right thing to do. I mean, I did it because, yes, I loved Michael Jackson's music and Michael Jackson as an entertainer, but I didn't write that book for that reason. I wrote that book because I felt that was part of a media that was after him, and I had wool pulled over my eyes. And ultimately, I came to a decision to look at the research and look at the evidence myself and try to figure out what the jurors saw. And then the truth was known, and I needed to make that known to people out there. It was not written for Michael Jackson's fans. It was written really for people who don't know about the truth about what was going on with Michael Jackson's life and how he was, in my opinion, persecuted by the law, not just prosecuted. And I presume obviously his fans like the book and want to read it, but to me, I want people who have never thought about Michael as being an innocent person to read it, because I think that that's the real difference that I was looking to make, and it had nothing to do with him being dead or alive or anything like that. I mean, I did that. I believe Michael read that book. I know he was handed that book by his nanny, Grace. Oh, yeah. I know he was handed that book. And Michael was an avid reader, and I believe he read that book. But I have no way to confirm it, because obviously before I ever had a chance to ever meet him on that level, well, I met him at trial, but I mean meet him and talk to him in that way, he was gone. So, but it's my hope and belief, and I sincerely believe he read that book, because I know enough about him to know that he was interested and curious about what people were thinking and saying about him. So, and again, he was handed, I know from Grace personally, handed 2 copies of it. So, I mean, what he may have thought of it, whether or not he really wanted to read it because he didn't want to relive it, those things I don't know. But he knew that it was out there. He knew that there was somebody fighting for him. Whether or not that meant anything to him, I think it did. I really do. And at the end of the day now, I mean, knowing Michael's been gone for 5 years, it's just hard to believe. But I also have to say, when I first wrote that book, Michael had just turned 50.
Right.
And so, he turned 50 just before he died. Prior to that, I actually went to a birthday party celebration for Michael, and I had the book with me, and we did it in Manhattan and New York City, and I can't tell you, there were a lot of fans there, a lot of people at that party. And I remember thinking, how strange it is that we're all having a party for Michael Jackson, and he's not here. It was just a phenomenon to me.